Good morning, you guys, it's Karen. I thought I'd come and just give you a short story about an incident that Watson and I had with a seal a couple of weeks ago. And everybody I've told about this story is really shocked and finds it really interesting. So I thought it would be useful to you guys, interesting, and hopefully stop anything ever happening to a dog in future. So there's a place that we take Watson for a walk. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen plenty of pictures of it. It's a lighthouse park. It's only a tiny little park. There's a couple of sort of mounds of grass. There's a couple of benches, and then it goes onto the breakwater of what looks like the sea, but is actually a river. And so there's rocks all the way down, and then you can kind of get into the water. So Watson has been going there since he was a puppy. It's a great place to let him off lead. But every time we let him off lead, he normally runs to the top of one of the little mounds and has a look around. He looks towards his girlfriend's house because she lives, close to it, and to see if she's come in, and that's it. He never ever goes towards the breakwater. And I'm really thankful for that, because there was an awful incident where a dog drowned once because there's a sort of shelf there's no beach or anything like that. It's just rocks all the way down. And then there's huge rocks, and then there's a little bit of water on a sort of shelf, and then it drops right off into very, very deep water. So deep that a submarine comes through sometimes, so that tells you how deep it is. And so I'm glad that he doesn't go down there, but he's not interested in swimming. He doesn't like the water. He will have a paddle and lie down in a sort of river, when it's really, really hot, and that's about it. He'll actually even avoid puddles. So he never goes over there. And not only would I worry about it being dangerous, it's actually very hard to get down there, because I went down, I sat there a couple of mornings after my dad died and just sort of sat looking out over the sea. And it was really, really very peaceful and calm, But because the big rocks can sometimes be covered in moss, it can be slippy, and it's quite a steep slope. And also if we've sort of walked along the top of it, there's gaps in between the rocks, and his legs can go down in between the gaps. I know a lot of dogs that do run down there and they jump into the water and have a good old swim, and it's fine, So anyway, I was going to the lighthouse, and I had let Watson off and was waiting for him to do his normal roly-poly and have a look around. And sometimes there's a tree that we do find it on and whatnot. He would run over and sort of point to the tree like, come on then, let's get on with it. But he immediately left me and started running towards the breakwater. I was confused, like what on earth is going on? And I thought, well, he must have heard maybe his girlfriend, who, like I said, lives nearby, or there's an old dog walker that used to walk him, and he adores her and he adores her dog. And I thought, I wonder if he smelt them and they're down there, and he'll maybe just go to the first little bit over the breakwater. So I ran towards him. I was calling him. He wasn't paying attention. I got to the top of the rocks where I could see down, and I could see something there, but I didn't know what I was seeing. I was like, that is either a seal, which I don't know if there is even seals in this river, because we've been here 10 years. I've never seen a seal here, but I've never been looking, to be fair, but I've never seen one. I've never heard of one. So I was like, it's either a seal or it's a dead dog, because it looked kind of like a brindle colour. And from that distance, that's all I could see. And I was like, I do not want Watson getting to it, if at all possible, because if it's a dead dog, we don't know what killed it, and I don't really want Watson sniffing or licking or whatever. If it's an injured dog, the injured dog might hurt Watson. And if it's a seal, I just didn't know what the story was. And again, if it's a dead seal, I didn't want him going near it. If it's an injured seal, I didn't want him going near it, and I didn't want him injuring the seal itself in case Watson, or frightening it, by barking or whatever. So I was in a bit of a tizzy, and I'm calling him and he's not coming back, and I'm trying to get down this slope and I'm slipping. Well, because I've been calling Watson, this lighthouse park is pretty busy at the moment, by the way, just because I think of lockdown, and it's one of the things you can do is go for walks. And I looked up, I could actually see people videoing me. The whole time this incident went on, there was people videoing me, because I guess it was comical, because I'm calling him with panic in my voice and he's not coming back, and I'm slipping on my bum, and So I got down and I could see him getting closer and closer to this thing, and I'm like, what? Trying everything. Treats, biscuits, where's dad? Who's this? Everything I could think of. And as I got nearer, I saw that it was in fact a seal. And Watson got to about this distance from it, and I was like, well, that's it, there's nothing I can do now, because I was still quite a bit away, not near enough to put him on lead anyway, but near enough to see what was going on. And Watson leaned in towards it, and he does this with swans. I don't know what's wrong with him, but if we go, there's another park we go to where there's a lake full of swans, and I'll sort of encourage him away from the edge, but he'll sort of, you know, plant his feet and lean forward, and they hiss at him and he sort of jumps, but he doesn't move back. You know, it's almost like he wants to confront them. I don't know. And I always managed to get him away, but this is what he seemed to be doing with this, what I now realised was a seal. He's sort of leaning in towards it. I was like, oh my goodness. And it hadn't moved at this point, but then all of a sudden it lifted its head up. It was obviously curled away from us, sort of in a ball, but it lifted its head up, turned round, and sort of made a sound, you know, like a sort of, I don't know what the sound is like, but like a whale, I suppose. I don't know what the sound is like, but it opened its mouth and there were these razor sharp teeth. Honestly, it was like something from Jaws. I could not believe it. I was just looking like, oh, I was like, what's that? Well, thankfully that made Watson back off a bit, and he was like, oh, I don't know about that. And as he was backing off, I managed to get to him, grab him and put him on lead, and we were, you know, a few feet away from it then, and I was just could not believe it. The teeth on this thing, I was just like, oh my goodness, it was literally, you know, it opened its mouth really wide and there were all these teeth. Anyway, so I was like, okay, so it's a seal, I've got Watson on lead. The problem now is for me to get back up onto the safe ground, but also I want to make sure that this seal is okay, because I don't know what's wrong with it. Why is it just lying there? You know, I was like, I need to phone the SPCA. Scottish SPA. So I phoned the Scottish SPA, and that's where it got really interesting with what they told me, because firstly they give a description of the seal, and if it matches that, which this one did, it's a baby. And so this one was a baby, and I was like, wow, the seals must be huge, because this was fairly big, you know, but it was a baby. And they said there is no need to worry about this seal. They said because what happens is the seals put their babies up on the edge while they go fishing, and then they come back for them later. And I was like, well, that's really cute. And I was like, but aren't they in danger? Because there's a lot of dogs around here that will, like, you know, bark at them and scare them. And he's like, you don't need to worry about that, because seals can look after themselves, even baby seals. And he said there's been 2 deaths in this area of dogs from seals. Now, I'm sure I'd actually heard of one. Somebody told me, but I just thought it had been exaggerated, but it wasn't. Apparently there was a puppy killed by a seal on that breakwater. It had taken it into the sea. I don't know how it actually died. I'm assuming that they drowned it. I know that a swan drowned a puppy, because that was new information to me too. But the biggest shock was he said there was a German Shepherd had died more recently from a seal bite that had become infected. So he said, if you imagine that a seal can bite a German Shepherd and kind of win that fight, if you like, then there's no need to worry about them, you know? And I was just so shocked. I was like, I thought, and I think we all did, everybody I've spoken to has said the same thing. We thought that seals were, you know, lovely, fluffy, cute animals that wouldn't harm a fly kind of thing. Not the case at all. He said actually the first thing he said is do not approach the seal, do not go near it, because they could bite humans as well, you know. And I could see then why the mothers would just leave them on the edge, because they can perfectly well protect themselves, you know. So yeah, I found that fascinating. I just could not believe it. I was like, and also it means that it was a very close call for Watson, because if he had have got any closer, you know, if he hadn't have backed off, he may well have got bitten. And I could see those sharp teeth. That's the bit that shocked me. I was like, was not expecting that, you know, and could have caused him a real injury. Or even like tried to drag him in the water, and I don't even think I'd have been able to do much, because it doesn't bear thinking about what could have happened. So anyway, there was another couple that were asking me what was going on, and I said to them, let me just get to the top and I'll tell you, but I've already spoken to the SSPCA. So I just about managed to get to the top, falling over again, still people videoing me and laughing, you know. I was like, oh, this is just some journey, this. Some walk, just a little walk I was going on. Anyway, I got to the top and was telling this couple what the SPA had said, and they said, well, we're going to sit here for a little while, so we'll see if its mother comes back to get it, because the guy had said if it's still there in 24 hours, then to phone back and somebody will come and find out whether or not it was injured or not, but otherwise it should be fine. And I thought, well, from the noise it made and the teeth and everything, it appears to be fine, you know. So I went back and checked 24 hours later and it wasn't there, and people had apparently seen it swimming up and down the shore with its mum, so that's really good. So that's the end of that story. I hope that you find that as interesting as I did. I'm just fascinated and really, really glad now that Watson doesn't like going into that water. Yeah, because it could have been a worse story that I was telling, and I don't think people realise. Let me know if you knew that or not. I'd be interested to know how many of you knew that about seals and how many had no idea. Anyway, I hope you're having a lovely Christmas, and I hope you have a lovely New Year. It'll probably be New Year before this video gets up actually, but thank you very much for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon.